Hi, you two. Today I want to talk about how the tensions in our bodies define who we are in a way. How our body is in a way our map, a map of our personalities. I want to do that by first explaining what I mean, explaining how we have mental models in our heads and how different parts of our body are related to different aspects of our personality, especially our emotions. And then finally I will give some examples of tensions in our body that it can be very interesting to pay attention to, where you tense up and in what situations. So first, we have in our minds a mental model of the world. That is generally how most people actually live. They live in their mental model. So there's a separation from the real world, even though our brains obviously are in the real world. What we perceive is the mental model we have. So this mental model is like it's self-contained, but then it gets signals from our nervous system, which are then used to update our mental model. This is partly why children move so much. They are actually mapping themselves. They are building up that mental model, mapping what they can do and how the world reacts to it. But we can alter the flow of the signals from the nervous system. For instance, by tensing our muscles, we can alter the flow of signals going through that area that we tense up. So maybe you've experienced or heard of, like, if you have a serious injury, let's say you break a hand and you have to wear a cast for it to heal, then you're not moving that part of your body at all. And after the cast is taken off and you've healed, you need to rehabilitate. You need to start moving that hand again, to send the signals to your mental model, to let it know that your hand is actually available again. Otherwise you can experience impaired movement in the limb you injured, but not actually because of the injury, because the mental model is screening out the fact that you have your hand still. Another example is people who lose a limb, for instance, yet they still experience phantom pains in that limb. It's a demonstration of how the signals we react to don't just come from the area where we feel the experience. They come in part from the other parts of the pathways, but also how our mental model experiences us in the world. And we can tense up deliberately, of course, but where that doesn't alter affects too much. The things that really define us are the chronic tensions that we tend to build up. I'm going to go into why that matters now. So our emotions are connected to different parts of our body. This is well established in many systems. The two primary ones I know of are from traditional Chinese medicine, We know of the meridians, points around our bodies that you can, if you want, draw a line through, and you can see how the energy flows around the body, and these meridians are connected to different organs, which are connected to different emotions. And Body SDS, the school where I graduated from, it has other layers on top of this, where they also discovered connections between different muscle groups and our organs, and thus our emotions. And I'm sure there are other schools of thought as well who have discovered this. So what this means is that if our emotions are linked to organs, then indirectly the neural pathways from those organs to our brains are also linked to those emotions, because they carry the signals from the organs. So we can dampen an emotional response by tensing up around these neural pathways to interrupt the signal flowing between the organ and the mind and the brain. Now, if we do that too frequently, and we don't let go the tensions again, then they can become chronic. And it's like, if they become chronic and the tensions are very intense, they can kind of block off some of the emotions from our mental model, which makes them very difficult to access and very uncomfortable to engage with. And it's very common in young children who, in the course of their upbringing, are told things they can't do and things they have to do, and in order to obey, they will tense up to force their behavior in a certain direction. Imagine being told you can't cry from a very young age, and you try to hold all that sadness or frustration in and not cry. That actually takes physical attention to hold it in. And if that happens in children so young, by the time they reach a state of full awareness of themselves, these chronic tensions have become normal to them. So they just think that is how they are. They think that is how they've always been, even though they just learned these things at a very young age. Typically, there's a switch in mental awareness at around age 3 to 4. That's very significant in terms of building up these chronic tensions. And of course, children who do build up these tensions, they carry that behavior into adult life as part of their mental model of who they are, not knowing that that's not how they started out. That's how they became very early in life, due to whatever circumstances affected their upbringing. That's also why some emotional states can be extremely uncomfortable for some people without any apparent conscious reason behind it. It's because these emotions have been hidden away from our conscious awareness for so long, bottled up with physical tension. That's also why physical therapy can be extremely uncomfortable for some people and can very easily trigger emotional responses, because they have been bottled up in the body, so to speak. And if you push on the right places and release those tensions physically, you can also release the emotions that they were holding back. So the person receiving the therapy experiences some of all of these bottled up emotions. So it is interesting to start paying attention to where you tense up and in what situations. So I just want to give you some examples of some common surface level tensions that you can pay attention to if you're interested. So a very common one is tensions around the lips and the mouth. Think of when you pucker your mouth, or you hold something in, or you want to exhale but you hold back on exhaling. Whatever you do with your mouth says a lot about how your internal emotional state. And there are two main meridians running around the mouth, which is the meridian for the large intestine and meridian for the stomach, and it's fairly close as well. Especially large intestine is related to letting go or trouble letting go, problems of the past, I forgot the word. So pay attention to your mouth and how you work it during the day when you get into certain situations. Another closely related area is tensions in the jaw. You probably know this. If you have to get through something that you don't really want to do, you might tense up and go through anyway, power through. It's very common in our society. So it's interesting to start paying attention to in what situations do you clench your jaw, and can you relax it again. The brow as well. We furrow our brows a lot. Maybe we think, maybe there's something we don't understand. I've heard said before, maybe it was Alan Watts who said that he had discovered that the tensions related to the ego feeling were related a lot to the brow, which is the same area that some other schools talk about having a third eye. So maybe we're obscuring our third eye when we furrow our brow. So try paying attention to when you do that and whether you can relax it again afterwards. Shoulders can be used to shield ourselves, hide ourselves. Hands, and especially wrists, we can tense up if we want to control ourselves or situations. So can you release your hands again and your wrists, letting them go. Stomach. It's very easy for us in the modern world to tense up in our stomachs. That's partly related to whether we feel comfortable or not, or we feel overburdened. And many people feel overburdened and might experience this as tensions in their stomach. Buttocks. Like we clench our jaw, we can clench our butts, holding ourselves together. It feels natural if we have to feel we have to do something we don't actually want. We can pull ourselves together. The question is, do we have to, and can we let it go afterwards? And then our feet. Feet are very interesting and tell a lot about your overall system. Usually many people pack them away in socks and shoes all day and don't really pay attention to them. But try to notice your feet, whether you have tensions that curl them or tensions that lift them. Can tell you a lot about emotional responses you carry with you. And can you relax your feet again? All right. Now I just went through some surface level tensions. There are deeper ones inside our torso, inside our throats and necks, inside our around our organs, especially, and around our spine, inside our pelvis. You can look for the deep tensions as well, but for most people it's easier to start with the surface level ones, because you can also get aid by looking in a mirror. And once you identify that there, you can start noticing the internal signals of your nervous system. And once you're able to do that, you can go looking for internal tensions that you can't see. And finally, I just want to mention that tensions are just one side of the pendulum. There's also the opposite side. So I use the pendulum as an example in my middle way video, which I'm going to try to link to here. So our tissue has a default average muscle tone, which is the activity level of the muscles. And tensions, chronic tensions, are more tense muscles than the average, but you can also have muscles that are less tense than the average, where the tissue becomes soft and watery and almost doughy. Like imagine a dough. And one reason for this is that if you feel like you have to take a lot of punishment, it might be easier to just let go so much that you don't even feel the punches anymore. Whereas some people will harden up so the punches bounce off of them. So both of these solutions to being in an uncomfortable environment can create these problems. It's just easier to talk about the tensions because people are more aware of them. So it's in this regard that I see our bodies being a map of our personalities, because by tracing the different chronic tensions around our body, you can actually get a glimpse into what emotions you have been blocking off. And if you then go back in your memory, or maybe go back in your subconscious through hypnosis or something, you can trace many of these chronic tensions to different other episodes in your life or periods of time in your life where they were necessary for you to survive as a child, but hopefully they're no longer necessary as an adult. So if you want to let go of them, you can do it by first bringing awareness and then going back to the root and then letting go. Cheers.